The taiga, also known as the coniferous forest, is the world's largest terrestrial biome, existing just below the tundra biome, found in a subpolar region. This is generally located between the latitudes of 40 to 60 degrees north. Because this biome thrives where summers are short and winters are long and harsh, this is an evergreen region made up of cone-bearing trees with needles instead of leaves, which are called conifer trees. The average precipitation per each year is about 300 to 500 millimeters, with the most rainfall occurring during the summer months. The average temperature ranges from negative 30 degrees to 15 degrees Celsius, with winter lasting 6 months. This is comparable to the temperate rainforest, which experiences precipitation in the opposite way the coniferous forest does. In the temperate rainforest, its dry months are seen as the summer months, while the opposite is true for the coniferous forest. In addition to this, the temperate rainforest does not experience such extreme temperatures as the coniferous forest does during winter. Decomposition in the coniferous forest is a slow process, both due to the cold temperatures along with the evergreen trees. The waxy needles on the trees contain compounds that are resistant to decomposition. As a result of this and the low nutrient content of the needles, the soil is acidic and nutrient poor. There are many limiting abiotic factors that exist in the coniferous forest. A major one that affects the forest floor is sunlight. Due to the thick evergreen trees and where the sun hits the forest due to the tilt of the earth, the forest floor receives very little sunlight. Therefore, only species that require little sunlight are able to live here, such as ferns, mushrooms, and lichens. Another factor is temperature. Due to the extremely cold temperatures in the winter months, only animals that are able to migrate, hibernate, or coexist with the cold are able to live here. A third factor is the acidic and nutrient-poor soil. Because the soil is so acidic, few trees are able to grow in this region. This results in generally only evergreens existing here because they can grow in this type of soil. The primary producers are the autotrophs that capture sunlight, eventually making energy for others. These include lichens, moss, ferns, and the coniferous trees. The primary consumers are the heterotrophs, which are wolves, lynx, bobcats, snow leopards, and black bears. There are many important predator and prey relationships in the coniferous forest. A main one is between bobcats and snowshoe hares. As bobcats hunt the snowshoe hares, this keeps the rabbit population down and provides the bobcats with sufficient nutrition to maintain themselves in the cold weather. In addition to this, wolves hunt elk. The elk are herbivores and often eat the beginnings of new trees and plants. Therefore, with wolves keeping the elk population down, there is more vegetation growing. This is similar to the relationship between red hawks and red squirrels. As the hawks hunt the squirrels, more vegetation grows because the squirrels eat the seeds from the pine cone, which prevent new trees from growing. In order to stay alive in such extreme cold weather temperatures, the plants of the coniferous forest must make adaptations. The needles on conifer trees have a thick waxy coating called a cuticle. This keeps moisture from leaking out. In addition, these needles consist of different chemicals that make them distasteful to herbivores. While the needles of conifer trees don't decay and fall off like deciduous leaves, they still fall occasionally, and over time these needles pile up on the ground. And due to the fact that they don't decay like normal leaves, they slowly break down and make the soil even more nutrient limited. This allows for the growth of even more conifer trees, as they are the few trees that can thrive in such poor soil. Just like plants have to adapt to live in the coniferous forest, so too do the animals. One example is the crossbill. These birds have beaks which the upper and lower part completely overlap each other. This allows the bird to be able to pry open pine cones to get the seeds within. Other animals, such as a bear, adapt to the cold by hibernating during the coldest parts of the year. In addition to this, some animals change colors during the different seasons, such as the ermine, along with the snowshoe hare, have dark brown coats in the summer, and during the winter their coat changes to white, allowing it to blend in with its surroundings. Clear cutting or logging is a major human activity that alters this biome. Humans use these trees for building. However, when they cut them down, this destroys habitats and increases the risk of erosion and flooding. This is because there is no root system left and the soil can be blown away or worn away by snow and rain. This exposes the bedrock and permafrost, which do not support much life. A solution would be to put in the laws and regulations to limit the number of trees cut down in the coniferous forest. Another human activity that greatly affects the coniferous forest is the burning of fossil fuels. This has caused both climate change and acid rain. Climate change has caused the partial thawing of permafrost. When this occurs, water has nowhere to drain and musk kegs are created. Also, with the warming of the region, non-native animals are attractive. This causes the native animals to struggle to survive. For instance, bark beetles are non-native, and when they infest, they kill spruce trees. Also, acid rain is caused by this. This negatively affects the trees because it weakens them, making them more susceptible to the cold and insects. If a tree is destroyed, this affects the animals in the biome who are relying on it for shelter and food. To fix this problem, stricter regulations should be passed to limit the burning of fossil fuels in cities. The snow leopard is an apex predator of the coniferous forest. Its role in the ecosystem is to control and regulate the population of other species. Snow leopards hunt blue sheep, ibex, rabbit, and other small mammals. Without the snow leopard hunting these animals, they would overeat the vegetation, which would ultimately degrade the surrounding environment, slowing the growth of new trees, which would result in decreasing the amount of habitats for other animals. The snow leopard was placed on the endangered species list in 1986. This was due to both habitat and prey-based loss, poaching, and persecution. There are about 4,000 to 7,000 snow leopards remaining both in the wild and captivity. A few characteristics that make the snow leopard vulnerable to extinction is that it is an apex predator. Therefore, it needs a lot of resources and a healthy ecosystem to support both itself and its prey. In addition to this, because it is an apex predator, it often faces hunting and poaching as humans will sell the fur and bones in the black market. Also, if the coniferous forest does not support sufficient prey for the snow leopard, it will often turn to hunting livestock or even domestic animals on farms. This angers the farmers, and as retribution, they will hunt and kill the snow leopards. The snow leopards also hold a certain commercial value as their bones will be sold as tiger bones, which are used for medicinal purposes. Recovery efforts are already put in place to help snow leopards. This includes a conservation planning conference that was held in Beijing in March 2008. This brought together several countries and was able to map specific and local knowledge about snow leopard range and determine snow leopard conservation units. These are areas which are the most important for conserving snow leopards over the long term. This process highlighted areas where knowledge of snow leopards' status is strong and where it is lacking. The resulting maps now provide biologists and conservationists with a more strategic approach to snow leopard conservation and research. While this conference provided maps to gain a more strategic approach, it was not entirely successful as most of the countries aren't adequately funded in order to strictly prevent hunting and poaching of these animals. In addition to this, the WWF, or the World Wildlife Fund, supports anti-poaching activities and monitors the network to help eliminate illegal trade of snow leopard fur, bone, and other body parts. In terms of laws for the snow leopard is included on the CITES Appendix 1. Therefore, it is legally protected from hunting by the international legislation across most of the countries it inhabits. CITES, which stands for the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, is a multilateral treaty to protect endangered species, both alive and dead. However, the treaty is very hard to enforce, and along with it, any member country that joins is allowed to exempt themselves from protecting a certain species. In addition to this, almost all the countries that the snow leopard inhabits have their own national laws that prohibit the hunting of snow leopards. However, this is also nearly impossible to enforce. The snow leopard population is declining rapidly, mostly due to human-caused activities such as poaching or even habitat loss. You can help raise awareness for this animal by donating to the WWF or any other snow leopard conservation agency.